Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Savage Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm joined this time with Scott Schreiber. He is our entertainment correspondent. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Glad to be back.
And we just literally left the theater from seeing Transformers 5. I don't know.
Yes, it's the fifth installment. Wish I could say that the last time I was on here was for Logan. Yeah. And I wish I could say that we had as good a film to talk about as that one, but unfortunately not the case. And I think you could probably gather that before going to see it, but visually stunning. But they forgot to do a thing called a script.
Yeah, Transformers, where's the script?
Yes, all those Autobots come together to form a big Autobot, but they really needed to form words.
A screenwriter, maybe.
Maybe, yes.
So this is going to be spoil-filled. This will be it won't be spoiler-free, because usually on the podcast, if we don't like a movie, we just come out and say it. So.
Well, and there's really nothing to ruin here.
Yeah.
So not much to talk about in the way of spoilers.
Michael Bay is great on his action sequences, but maybe he should have just made it without sound or hired me. I guess I'll never work again in the industry. So, yeah, the takeaway I took from it was towards the end, I had to go to the restroom real bad. It was really long, and I was like, I shouldn't have got that Coke, all of it.
So if a film can't keep your mind off of your bodily functions, then probably not 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, and the fact that, I don't know. I'm trying to find words to describe this film, and I had no intention of seeing it, but we wanted to go see a movie, and it's Transformers. It's supposed to be good, right. Summer kind of popcorn fun.
If you're going to see this movie, you should see it in the theater just because of the spectacle of the visuals, but might not have the same effect at home. And you can point out all the glaring errors and faults to this film a little more at home.
Well, just the guy that says, well, it's physics, man, it's physics. And I'm like, there's no way that Cybertron could come to Earth, get that close, even the impact with the moon without throwing out gravitational forces. Where's Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Right.
When we need him, but...
No, there's not a lot of logic here. Nothing really seemed to tie together well. It was just like, hey, let's have a big battle here, and then, let's just stop fighting all of a sudden for no reason and just run away, and then we'll battle again in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I read something online. There were 5 after-credit scenes. There was only 1. Okay, there was one thing I've seen online where they showed those little... the TRF, they had sent the little robot drones, and did you notice how they all look like
T-fighters?
TIE fighters, Darth Vader's TIE fighter from Empire and Star Wars and all that. And then there was something else that reminded me of that. I just feel like Michael Bay made a nod to some Star Wars references there.
Is it a nod, or is it just, hey, I'm going to steal this? Because
it could be both. It could be a crime.
I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. He's just like, hey, fly by the seat of my pants.
Right. I can do what I want. I didn't want to do this film anyway, and they threw me X amount of dollars to do it, so I'll do it. And he did it. I hear there's going to be a couple more sequels. It's left wide open for a sequel, in the end there from that after credit scene.
Yeah, there's a little teaser there at the end for what's to come next, which is for me usually a little frustrating because you can tell they're thinking about the next movie instead of this one. Concentrate on the one you're doing first.
Exactly. I had no intentions of thinking it was going to be a good movie
No, you're just going in for a mindless movie, but it was a little more mindless than...
Yeah, it really felt like at one point, and I almost looked over to you in the theater and said, I was going to say, and we said it later, is that it just felt like they made it up as they went along, you know.
Absolutely.
I guess there was no scripting on there. There were so many problems with continuity, but at this point, I think after all the billions of dollars the franchise has made, Michael Bay and them and company don't care about whether there's going to be problems with continuity. I mean,
no, and it's a shame that it couldn't be better. The franchise has had some great actors in it. I feel like John Turturro was completely wasted in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And Jared Carmichael's great, and he even came off as cheesy. And I mean, you have the great Sir Anthony Hopkins, and what made him make this film? Is he getting that desperate? I don't know.
He just wanted a paycheck, and and pay for another house, probably. I mean, I don't know.
And Tony Hill. I mean, Tony Hill's a great comedic actor, and he's the one screaming physics, and it just like
physics
makes him. He's an Emmy award-winning actor, and he looks terrible. And that's not necessarily his fault.
You could hire me, and I'd scream physics all day.
As
long as you're paying me.
Give you your SAG card.
And,
you didn't need to. You wouldn't need to pay you as much as Tony Hill. I mean,
no, I wouldn't. Would you recommend people going to see this movie, quote unquote?
No, I wouldn't pay money for it.
I wouldn't even pay to see it in IMAX 3D. I wouldn't even care, and we saw it 2D. So
I don't. The 3D would almost be too distracting. I think it's just so in your face.
It is in your face, and you can see there were a couple shots where it was intended to be 3D, like one of the swords that kind of went towards there, the intentional stuff that's supposed to poke you in the eye in a theater, but I didn't care,
No.
I look for some of those things, but this time I didn't really care. You almost dozed off, I think, during the movie, you said.
A couple times. It got a little slow. The pacing's not great. Usually they're at least on the run and action in these films, but
they're just like roll camera.
It just went into a lull there a couple times, and the third film, I actually fell asleep during the explosions. There were too many of them. I actually would want more in this one because
I was like, how long really is this contraption falling from the sky, which shouldn't be there anyway, And then Omicron is actually Earth. And Cybertron and Earth are kind of like coexisting because of Optimus Prime after he went bad. Quintessa, is that her name? Or
sure.
She why not? We just throw that out there. They didn't want to say Contessa, so
no, I don't remember all the names like I should have, because I watched the cartoon religiously growing up, and and that made me feel excited about this franchise when it started. But wow, after 5 overall disappointing movies, it's kind of a waste of what this franchise could be. I mean, if you just have better screenwriters.
The actors, I think they did the best they could with what they had. I mean, I like Mark Wahlberg. I think he's a good actor. He's made a lot of good films.
I tend to never
blame the actors.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but
for taking the job.
Yeah, but it's because the directors have to get you there. They have to get the directors there. Right. It's like, in what was it, the Star Wars, the second set, the
prequels?
Yes, the prequels, I'm sorry. Like, you got Natalie Portman, who's went on to become, a great Academy award-winning actress.
Yeah.
And she looks awful in those films. It's like, and that's the director's fault, in my opinion. And I know people will be like, oh, you know who that director is, but
yeah.
But
it's hard to insult the Lucas even when he messes up badly.
My point, you know, I just feel like
wasted talent in this movie here. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins sounds like a great idea, but anybody that knows Transformers knows that it's really not about the people. I know we have to make the movies about the people and have the heroic people running around like little ants when they could easily be squashed and blown up from any of these impacts and these fights, but it's like, they throw so much at the actors so that you care about the actors, and then you know it's really about the Decepticons and the Autobots throwing down, you know.
And I feel like while there's a decent amount of, you know, Autobot versus Decepticon in this, Optimus Prime is nearly completely absent from this film. It's like it's a teaser, and like for him to just come in at the end, it's just it doesn't feel right.
And it has that heroic moment where he comes and he slashes all those guys, which we've seen in the trailer, and that's awesome looking.
Again, in that moment, like, why can he not be there on time? Why is he late? He's with them all right before that, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, he couldn't show up. Yeah. And then he comes to save the day.
Optimus will be here. He promised.
He promised. Yeah. We just left the same place about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that friend that you've invited to, you know, the party, and they said, "Well, I'm on the way," and then they don't show. So
see, and that, you know, that's the him barely being in it is a disappointing factor of this film for me. He. You know, when you only see the big Mack truck driving across the screen
at the very end. Yeah, I know.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's the iconic Transformer that we all had, that we put together, that we broke apart, put back into the Mack truck, and you want to see that on the screen, at least for kids that grew up playing with the toys.
I agree. You know, the first Transformers was so in your face, and they had Sam Witwicky, who got an appearance in here, even though Shia LaBeouf wasn't really technically in there.
A little cameo, a picture of him. It was a little homage to him.
Yeah, well, they own his image, I'm sure. So, you know, everything's owned and bought and sold again. But this movie didn't really do it much for me, even for summer fun. You know, I wasn't trying to look at it being any more than just a regular movie. You know, I was trying to like it for its merits and all that.
Sure, but don't spend your money on it. Go see Wonder Woman again.
Yes, definitely go see Wonder Woman. You know, time for a refund and all that. Time to get my money back. You know, and I should have got my Coke refilled several times. I don't know. Maybe might have been better on that. So, I don't know. I can't really say that it was possibly the worst in the franchise. I had heard.
I can't comment because I never watched the fourth one, so I can't say that.
I've seen all of them, and I'm more confused the more I watch them than, you know. Yeah. They've gone so far. You know, they've used creative license with the storyline here, the story arcs and everything. It long since being for me a Transformers movie. It is a Transformers movie. I understand that, but it doesn't follow any kind of continuity or anything that makes sense. And like I said, I just think they make it up as they go along, especially this film. Yeah. You know, I was like, we knew Anthony Hopkins was going to bite the dust there. And then that robot was KTSO. They basically ripped off Star Wars Rogue One.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, he totally had the attitude, and he's this thin robot ninja kind of dude, you know, so they had a take on that. So I really feel like that they kind of stole from Rogue One.
Right. I think they didn't have a fleshed out script, and they said, hey, what's popular? What's working right now?
What made $1 billion?
And let's throw that in there. Even the little part with the kids seemed like Stranger Things. You know?
Yeah, very good.
It seemed like it was really drawing off popular shows and films right now and saying, okay, shit, we forgot to write a script.
Well, we'll movie,
just throw in what's popular.
This movie is going to do kind of what The Mummy did. Mummy kind of bombed here. Mm-hmm. You know, you saw it, I didn't. But I think it's probably a much better movie than this.
It was. Yeah.
What they're planning on, just like the last one, the last Transformers movie, first part felt like it was made for American audiences, and automatically it's like China and all that. You know, it's definitely catered. And so this will make money overseas.
It will.
You know, the international box office will justify another movie and all that. And just like The Mummy with starting to darken the universe off, you know, it was Tom Cruise's biggest opening, I think, ever internationally.
Right, overseas, yeah.
Yeah. So, but for Transformers, there's rumor there's going to be 2 more. There was rumor that this is the last Michael Bay Transformers, and maybe it needs to be. Maybe they'll go back to script, back to the source material. And I thought they were going to hold off and not change Bumblebee's voice in this. I've been hoping since the first one that he'd speak, because it was fun at first. Now it's irritating that he doesn't have a voice. And then they give him a voice, and it's kind of funny because it's like this female voice, and he rips his voice modulator thing out and throws it away. I'm like, really? So that's all the voice we get from Bumblebee in this movie, But did you notice later he was speaking, and it almost sounded like a regular voice, but I don't know.
I think at that one moment near the end, it is his actual voice. That one scene with Optimus, to get Optimus to come back around, it was his voice. But then for some reason, right after that, he just switched back to the the audio bites, the sound clips.
Maybe he recorded this voice or something.
Yeah,
and he just had that, and he's been saving it.
Yeah, so
I don't know the logic behind it.
No rhyme or reason.
Yeah, it didn't really explain it. There was nothing really explained. I guess
no, there were little things that didn't need to be explained that were explained. That's the.
You were saying that. The exposition, I believe.
Yeah, the expository writing, where you don't really need to say what's going on because you see it on the screen. A guy, I can't remember if it was an Autobot or a human, but they were running across the screen. They were, stumbling and panting, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired." And it's like,
they even had the subtitles, insert tired. No.
Right? You just,
I can see the screenplay on
poor writing. It's like, you don't need to say those things. It's like you have to think that the audience is smarter than that. It's basically thinking that, the audience isn't going to get this simple thing. They're dumb, so we're going to add this dialogue, and it's just not needed. I mean,
it's not. I totally feel that some things are better left unsaid in here, and there was just a redundancy. Like they had to tell you when and where they were, and at one point I'm like, yeah, I get it. I've seen Transformers before.
And then he's like, when Optimus is bad, quote unquote, a bad guy, he's like, instead, like, we kind of got it. He was fighting Autobots. He had, they even put the red slash down his face and whatever.
And his eyes were a different color.
But then he's like fighting, and he's like, I'm Nemesis Prime. And it's like, almost like, oh, we didn't get that you were bad, so we needed that information. Thank you.
Maybe they think this is just a movie you can jump right in. Maybe that was the intention. I don't think they even thought that hard on the script. And they're like, let's just start shooting this and blow some shit up. And I do not want to trash this movie, but I can't help it. I'm looking for positive things in a.
The only positive is the visuals. I mean, you can't knock the visual effects in this.
Not at all. I think
that's
they
were
that's
the
wonderful.
Only strong point. And the sound. I mean, they're good sound. I mean, but
we weren't in the best theater.
No.
Like, it wasn't IMAX, it wasn't 3D, it wasn't the best. We were in a Regal theater. Nothing against Regal, but this particular theater, I mean, the sound was okay. I heard some of the side speakers when there was pew pew. Oh, there we go. Pew pew pew. Pew 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 and all. But other than that, it wasn't enough to really capture my imagination, let alone keep it for a while. And I had enough rest before the movie, so I wasn't tired, because otherwise I probably would have took a nap.
Yeah.
This was very formula. I wouldn't say this was a formulaic. I can't say that.
Formulaic.
They changed it.
They changed the pronunciation of that.
Exactly, just for the movie. Because I won't say it's that, because I don't think there was a formula.
No.
I just
the Michael Bay formula: blow shit up, run a little bit, blow stuff up.
And Spielberg's a producer in this. He's always got his hand in the pot. So I won't say anything bad about the Spielberg. This was a kind of phone it in movie. They're just like, here, the studio, here's X millions of dollars. We need to transform a movie that's going to make $1 billion, especially overseas, because we know it's going to do minimal here. Yeah. And they call it The Last Night. They make a little bit of sense in how that's tied into King Arthur and all that, and the character of Merlin.
Boy, King Arthur's getting beat up this summer.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, there's not been a good portrayal of all at him, even in student films. No, but. Yeah, it was just, R.I.P. Merlin, because poor Merlin they said I would have rather seen more mystical stuff.
Another great actor that looked foolish, Stanley Tucci, was Merlin.
And he was too comical for me for that role.
The tone was way off.
Thank you. Yeah, I was not feeling his Merlin. Merlin, once again, was just thrown in there for... to have Merlin as part of the story, and I get why he's there, and the Knights of the Round Table, but I would have rather seen the movie about Merlin, more with Merlin, and I would have rather seen him, like Gandalf leading the troops or something in Lord of the Rings or something. I don't know. I wasn't going to get that, so I sometimes expect too much of my movies, like to be entertaining, I suppose, or make sense.
Yeah, making sense would be nice, but not in this case.
Yeah, there's just... You want to make a Transformers movie? I'm sure we could write a script. We could do it.
I think so.
You'd definitely direct it.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about this movie, other than the visual effects and sound, were the previews. So,
yeah,
but you can get that about
how they did the
else.
Dunkirk, which I want to see that movie. I'm predicting. I told you probably Academy Award nomination for that.
Certainly has that look and feel of a Best Picture contender.
Yeah, but it was weird, and I thought maybe they screwed up the trailers beforehand, because it would say trailer, and then you get like 30 seconds of
a teaser
of Dunkirk, which, if that's the way it's going, that's kind of interesting. But after the fourth one, I was like, okay. And it did show us some new footage, so that was good to see. And, I'm already interested to see that movie anyway,
right.
But I wonder if that's the way it's going to be now. They're going to do, they could have thrown some Last Jedi stuff in there for me, just, I don't know. There weren't that many really, I don't even remember the trailers before it.
Well, the Dunkirk is the most memorable one, especially since the way they did it. It was a little, the teaser, then another preview, then a teaser, then another preview, and that one's probably my most anticipated July, summer movie anyway. Christopher Nolan and a war film. I mean, it sounds
pretty
spectacular.
Yeah, and it's based on a true story. So,
but the other previews, I believe, were all sequels. It was like
everything's sequels. These
number
days.
2, or the third one. All these sequels and third installments, and but that one, Dunkirk, stands out because it's original.
Totally. Well, unless you have anything else to add about this.
Anything else to bash Michael Bay in this film? He just, I liked the fun of his early movies, and it just feels like he's lost that touch. I have a special place for The Rock, and even, the first Bad Boys. I mean, those films were fun and had a great energy, and he needs to go back and recapture that.
He does. For me, Michael Bay does great action. I mean, I don't know if The Lost Ship is still coming back, but he produced that on television, and fine show, a very good show. But I like what Michael Bay. He's your action guy. If I wanted the action movie or I need the action sequence, I would call Michael Bay. If I wanted something more cerebral, I might call another, director or something. It all depends.
But now we've gotten to a point where there are a few that are cerebral and can do action.
Right.
I think you got Denis Villeneuve, who's coming up. He's doing the new Blade Runner.
2049, I think it's, that looks interesting,
Absolutely.
And please, Harrison Ford, don't die in real life.
Right.
God bless him. Please watch your landing of your planes and on golf courses and wherever else you want to land. It's fine. But I'm diverging into something else there. But I love Harrison Ford. We got to see Cheryl and I got to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark. They had it in the theater the other day and all. It was nice to see it after all these years on the big screen.
Sure, yeah,
and there were parts of it
fun.
I felt like I had forgotten, you know. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see that. But I guess wrapping up here, final thoughts on Transformers: The Last Knight.
See something else.
Save your money.
And go find yourself, Michael Bay. Go find yourself and a screenwriter.
I'll help you out. Look me up. All righty. Well, thank you, Scott, our entertainment correspondent. Thank you for coming back on the podcast.
Absolutely. It's been too long, too busy, and
we're both working in the movie industry now. And,
absolutely. So working long hours, so getting less time to do these fun stuff like this, but glad to be here and glad to do it.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And this is where I normally end the podcast and say, go out and see Transformers. I'm like, don't. So
there's plenty of other things that are worth it. Go see Guardians again. Go see Wonder Woman again.
Definitely see Wonder Woman again.
Wait for there's some great stuff coming out this summer. Valerian and Dunkirk, and I think save your money. Wait, go see something
I'm early predicting, even though Valerian looks spectacular, I'm predicting it's going to bomb. Or at least here. I don't think it's going to do well. Now, I could be wrong. But I guess the future will let us know.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone, for another episode of the Geek World podcast. Along here with Scott, and we're saying goodbye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast with your host, Savage Tech Man. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes, see us on YouTube, be part of our Mixlr chats. Thank you. See you again on the Geek Homeworld podcast.